I'm Dub. That's Trey. And today we're gonna talk about why do men lie.
Yeah.
So, Trey, you want to kick this off, man, about what you think? Why do we lie? Why do we lie?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why we lie. The main things that come to mind for me are to avoid conflict and
Yeah.
to also to avoid conflict and because the woman can't handle the truth. They think that the woman can't handle the truth. So,
Mm,
and then you have some guys that don't want to be accountable. Like they just
right.
don't want to get caught in their lies. So,
Of
you know,
course.
you
Right.
you have those top elements, but I think the most important thing when you ask that question, the top two things is accountability, whether or not the man wants to be accountable, or whether or not the woman can handle the truth. And then the man
Mm,
kind of makes a decision on whether or not he's going to go that route or he's going to go ahead and tell a lie, kind of to save the peace. Now we all know
right.
there's some jerks in the bunch for every people lie, men and women lie, but we want to address the men because we are men. So
That's right.
that's kind of my take on the first aspect of why men lie when I think of it in my head. But
Yeah.
I really think that it has to start within the man. It has to really start on whether or not the man has the ability to handle the outcome. I think that really identifies the element of why a man will lie. The question is, can you handle the result that you're gonna get if you tell the truth?
Right. And I think that's probably the biggest reason as far as relationships. If we talking about why men lie to women, yeah, it's definitely because they're not ready to suffer the consequences of whatever they did, right?
Right, right,
So, now with that, do you think that um, if a particular woman, if the guy's woman was more susceptible to the truth in other manners, would you think it would be easier for guys to tell the truth in those bigger situations? And what I mean by is, so let's just say you're in a relationship, or a guy's in a relationship, and he has a woman who always has something to say about everything, whether it's small, it's
right,
big. She always has something to say
right,
about something he's doing, something he's done, a choice he's made, or whatever. Does it get to a point to where you're like, man, I'd rather just not say anything. I'd rather just lie about this because I already know she already gives me the business off of these small things. I can't. There's no way I can tell her this because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to deal with the smoke of what I'm going to get by telling her the truth about this. So,
right.
I mean, that's still more about self preservation,
That peace.
you
That
know?
that man that man wants
Um,
that peace.
yeah. Uh,
You know. I
but, but,
think
sh-
when
but I guess,
I think when you give that example, the first thing I think about is what we talked about previously for about what men want, that peace. But
right.
then you do have these men who like to boost their egos. These are the men who lie for no reason at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not even about the
Mm-hmm.
response. It's not even
Right.
about the response that the woman gives. It's more about them trying to solidify who they are as a man, and they feel
Mm-hmm.
like they have to fluff their characteristics or they have to address certain things to prove a point that they are this type of man, quote unquote, a high value man, for example. If
Right.
he feels internally that he's not up to par, a man will typically lie to 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 level himself up,
Yeah.
and it may have
So,
nothing to do with the woman.
so it's more of an exaggeration
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
honestly, I think if we talking about that type of lying, I think the biggest thing most men lie about is their income.
Mm-hmm.
And I think men lie to men and women about that.
Right. I
They
agree.
lie, they lie, they lie to women about their income because, like you just said, they want to present themselves as a certain kind of man or a certain stature of a man, right?
Right.
And then I think they lie to men about their income because they want to measure up. it's a competition with other guys. So
Right. Right.
I definitely think income is one. I think that's one of the biggest things men lie about, outside of their relationship statuses and sexual experiences.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And
I,
ultimately, it's an insecurity within the man. You know, when you dig deeper into those things, there's something that's insecure about the man where he feels as though he needs to do to cover that up
hmm,
in whatever capacity that he's trying to cover that up in. You know, I don't want you to know that, I make 50,000 when, so I'm gonna tell people I make 100,000, that type of
right,
thing. He's
right,
insecure about himself, and that self confidence, that finding the things that are value to you, finding those core characteristics and appreciating yourself and loving yourself, I think are key things that most men don't really talk about amongst other men.
hmm,
I think in the society we live now, when it comes to women, women do a lot of that. They do a lot of self care, a lot of self love, a lot of motivational things. We have men that provide motivational speaking and guidance and
hmm,
mentoring. But when you talk
right,
about the psychological part of it, the internal part of the things that I'm most insecure about,
hmm,
some of those things may come out in a lie to your significant other, or family member, or in the workforce, depending on the situation. But I think when you think about why men lie, when it comes to men addressing men, I think that is one of the most important elements. A man not really being comfortable with who he is, so he
hmm,
feel like he got to play the part. He has to play
right,
this part and pretend like he is this type of man, because
hmm.
he can't present himself at face value because he's uncomfortable with that. So
Oh, and maybe he thinks he's not good enough.
right,
Maybe
exactly,
he
exactly,
doesn't feel like he should be in the same room with certain types of people or certain types of men. So he has to,
right, right,
exaggerate a bit. Now,
exactly.
so when we talk about lying, right? We I guess you we tend to think about lying via verbiage, right? Just telling a lie,
Mm, mm-hmm.
right? Um, something else I was thinking about. It's also a lie when you pretend to live a certain lifestyle that you don't really live in real life.
Yeah.
If you think about the type of guys who drive certain cars, wear certain types of clothing, and they present this lifestyle that they know they really don't have,
Mm-hmm.
but they present it to, again, they present it to women to attract those women, and they present it to men as a means of saying, hey, look, I'm a dominant alpha male, I got it going on, whatever, right? And even though they might not even have a conversation about what they have or don't have, just the
Right.
sheer fact that you're presenting this facade is, I mean, technically could be a lie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think it's definitely when you pretend to be something you're not. That's considered to be a lie, even though you're not actually saying it. Your priorities and how you act, your lack of prioritization, shows that you're living a lie, because you're doing certain things that you shouldn't be doing when it comes to prioritizing your life as a man.
Right.
Especially
Yeah.
if you have a family, or if you in a relationship, if you have children and you buying new whips, but your children don't have shoes on their feet. You know what I mean?
Right.
That, like,
Right.
you're
Right.
living a lie because your
Yeah.
priorities are not in order. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, and I definitely
Yeah.
want to touch on that that avoid getting caught. Why men
Yeah.
lie? Because they
Yeah.
avoid getting caught. I mean, once you got
Avoid
to be
getting
honest
caught.
with you got to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with the people that you're dealing with, the woman that you're
Hmm.
dealing with. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think that men have to be willing to accept whatever outcome that is, because I think that's the part that keeps keeps them from being honest. They don't want to deal with being alone, whether or a reaction, or the woman being tit for tat, putting up there and
Right.
saying, "Hey, I can show you better than I can tell you." You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I
I
do.
think that's a big thing too. The man has to be willing to accept, good or bad, what the outcomes are in his life, and he naturally will be able to live, talk, and speak and act in an honest way. Because regardless if the outcome is tragic or if the outcome is great, he's gonna still walk that line of integrity.
Yeah.
If he doesn't walk that line of integrity, all these things that we're talking about could come into play. But again, you
Hmm.
have the ones that just don't want to deal with getting caught or having to address certain things, because of the conflict between him and the communication between him and a woman. Because when you go into that, you start going into things like, okay, I've told you what's going on with me. I'm being honest.
Hmm.
Now she's opened up Pandora's box, and now she's dictating why you did what you did, and what that means. Or and now you have no control over the dialogue, and you're like, man, I should have just nothing at all. So
Right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and honestly, what it sounds like to me, and I know you didn't say this, but I'm gonna tell you what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to
Hmm.
me the difference between dealing with a mature man and an immature man. Because I think the difference is a mature man isn't going to make a decision that he feels like he's going to have to lie about from
Uh,
out the gate. I
I
don't I
agree.
don't think I don't think a mature man is going to consciously do something
Not
that he
consciously.
knows he or yeah, consciously he's if he has a if he's thinking about his actions and
Hmm.
the consequences,
Hmm.
right? And the choices he's making, he's not going to choose to do something that he knows he's going to have to lie about later.
Right. Right.
I, I
I
think I think that's a difference between an immature male and a mature male about the decisions you make in regarding whether or not, if we're talking about a conversation between a man and a woman in a relationship,
right.
right? You just wouldn't make decisions on purpose without considering the consequences of having to lie to hide it,
Well,
which
I
is
agree. I agree with that, but the problem with that scenario is that the topic may have never came up in the
hmm,
relationship, meaning
but
that,
then you still wouldn't lie about it.
well, that's not necessarily true. The reason why is because, for example, if you have a man and a woman and they're dealing with each other, and then things haven't necessarily been established, and
Hmm.
then she comes back for the clarity, and he lies about it, right? He necessarily should have at that point had the opportunity to tell the truth, and not be held accountable for it, because there was no clarity before. So she shouldn't hold him accountable. She's trying to find clarity now. He addresses
Hmm.
what he's been doing the past time they've been dating each other.
Hmm.
They move forward. They get an understanding of what this is, if this is a relationship, if we're in a committed relationship, if we're not in a committed relationship. But a man
Right.
typically may lie, even in that situation, because he doesn't want to talk about those things that he really wasn't necessarily wrong about, because there was no
Right.
clarity in that in that past experience. But so that's the only scenario I could think of that kind of would counter that. Like, he doesn't know better, because there was no establishment in the relationship, really. For example, let's just talk about being single and being in a relationship. If they didn't
Hmm.
make it official, but then she asked these questions, well, how many women you been dealing with, or you know that kind of thing. He may say, I
Right.
haven't been messing with nobody, baby. It's just been you.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So,
I do. I do.
and she
But
may, she may dig deeper into that. But again, consciously, yes, a mature man that's in a situation that knows that, and the relationship has been established, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been, he knows not to put himself in a situation where he should have to even lie at period. You know what
Right,
I'm
and that's
saying?
what I was getting at,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even in that even in that scenario that you just provided, right? If he didn't have the clarity to even know what was going on, he wouldn't
Hmm.
have a reason to lie, because his actions wasn't built around, I'm going to have to hide this. So even in that situation, he's still may not lie. So
You
like
have
you
to
just said,
tap
if
in. You have to tap into his past experience. He's basing it off his past experience, and that's what she's gonna base it
Mhm.
off too.
Right,
She's
right,
she's
that's
gonna
true.
judge him off of all the men that she dealt before, including the men in
Yeah,
her life, and that's why he's gonna lie, because every
right.
other woman before that had an issue with him living that life.
With him doing that, that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And this could be a mature man, but he doesn't have anything to go on. And yes, we can talk about, I would say, well, you should have got that clarity.
hmm,
Him taking that step before, hey, what are we doing? Are we just dating? Are we seeing other people? Are we doing these things? But sometimes the communication between men and women can be very misunderstood, because
hmm,
what she says is dating. She may be thinking in the monogamous mindset, and
yeah,
his mindset of dating may be, he's going to date three, four, five, six, seven different women. And for
yeah,
her meaning of dating and his meaning of dating are two different things. So those type of things happen and come out in the midst of somebody getting caught in a lie. Oh, well, I
right,
didn't even know you meant this, or I didn't know you meant that. Well, this is what I mean. But ultimately, yes, I agree. But again, you have those situations where people have to tap into their past, and a lot of
yeah,
times that can be detrimental to the future relationship, because you're basing your actions off of the past. You think that she's not going to be understanding because the women in your past weren't understanding.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. So why do men lie? Self-preservation, right?
Self-preservation.
Peace,
Yep.
yeah,
Not to get caught.
and not to, not to get caught,
Not to get caught. I mean, they
and
just,
and
that's not having
and if
accountability. Not having
no
accountability, same
accountability,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
And if you're a male, if you're a man that's not comfortable in his own skin, not comfortable in his own place in life, not comfortable with his own bank account, his own, style,
Yeah.
his own whatever it is, then those type of men lie just to pretty much fit in, and one up and exaggerate who they
Yeah.
are, what they have, because honestly, they don't love what they have and who they are. You know.
And that's the, I think that's the most important piece that you could take away from having dialogue with other men. You got to start with yourself. The only way that you're going to get out of falling into those traps that a woman may intentionally do, or inadvertently do, or not intentionally do, is to have that self-love and self-value of self. So it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. It doesn't matter what because she questions you, and she most likely already has the answer, because most women ask
Yeah.
questions that they already have the answer to. They just want to know if you're honest about it.
Right.
So if you start with yourself, and you start with understanding who you are, and understanding that right, wrong, and indifferent, I'm okay with the mistake that I made. I'm okay with the decision I made.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and be honest. That way, you don't have to look over your shoulder. You don't have to worry about whether or not she is going to catch you doing something that you guys haven't agreed to do in a relationship. So
Mm.
having that integrity within yourself first would automatically cancel out any altercations that you're going to have with anybody else, because even if you do have that conflict, you're going to be okay with it, and you're going to come
Right.
out, you're going to be like, this is what I did. If you don't like it, I apologize that you don't like it, but this is what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I say this to the women out there on because we kind of focusing on the men, but I say this to the women: when you do have a man that's giving you that bad news and that's being honest with you, understand that that's a rare thing. Even though he may be telling you something that you don't want to hear, that's
Hmm.
a rare commodity that a man has that much confidence in himself to tell you something that he knows that you don't want to hear.
Hmm.
That is something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of
Right.
people in society, in our society, will tell you things that you want to hear, and it's going to make you feel good and you're going to be able to
Hmm.
sleep at night. But if I'm telling you something that's going to keep you up at night, understand that you should respect it and understand that you shouldn't neglect it, meaning that you shouldn't abuse it because it's something that you don't want to hear. Because what's going to
Right.
happen is that that person or that situation now is going to disappear. Now you're going to get the lie.
Right. Right.
So,
Because you can't handle the truth.
because you can't handle the truth. Yep. And I challenge the ladies. What do you prefer? What do you prefer? The the toxic response and your on
Hmm.
from your end, do you prefer that,
Hmm.
or do you prefer, hey, lie to me? You know what I'm saying? I want,
Well,
because some people will
I'm,
prefer that. Some people will
yeah, I'm
prefer, you
I'm
know.
going to go out. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that most women are going to say, one, I hate liars. Never lie to me. I prefer to have a man that never tells me lies. And I think that sounds good. It does.
Yeah,
It sounds good.
it sounds real
But
good.
in my experience, and just having conversations, just casual conversations, right? In my past or whenever with other women about whatever the
Right,
conversation is about.
right,
When you are honest about whatever the topic is, and it's about her, right? It can get pretty ugly quick because, and I think maybe that's the difference. Maybe the difference is between lying to her about her or telling the truth about her to her, you know, versus telling the truth about a situation that involves her. Those are kind of two different
right.
kinds of conversations.
Because after you tell the truth, or after you lie, either way, you got to talk about the why and the how. And then when
The
you get
why,
into the
right?
why and the how, now you're getting into a much deeper conversation, and it's like, well, why did you do that? and
Yeah.
and that taps into what you're talking about. Like, as soon as you said that to me, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you gotta have to talk about the why and the
Hmm.
how if you telling the truth, because now that, oh man, that can go for both sides. That can go either way. That's a You got to have a real
It can.
backbone as a man
Yeah.
to go down that road, because emotionally you told her something that she didn't want to hear. So you already
Right.
know where that's going to go. She's going to take it and run with it. And guess what? She going to hold it against you. She may wake up 2 months later, 2 years later, and talk about that one truth thing that you said, that you was honest
Right.
about. It's like, damn. So yeah, I mean,
And you be saying, "Damn, I knew I shouldn't have said that shit.
I knew I shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have
I should
said
have
it.
just, I shouldn't have said that. I should have just lied."
Yeah.
Now, omission. So, omitting, not saying the truth, but technically not lying. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, because
You know.
I've told a woman before, I'm not gonna tell you the truth because you can't. I've said that to a woman. I've
Hmm.
said, I'm not gonna tell you this because if I tell you this, you gonna go down the wrong road, because
Yeah.
they like to say, okay, this can't just be a one time thing. This just can't be a
Right.
one. You got to have feelings involved. You got to have all of these different things. You got to, they
And
and
there's dots to be connected.
yeah. And for men,
You know.
our life doesn't work that way. We don't have
Right.
we don't necessarily have to have dots connected. It could
Mm-hmm.
just be a one time thing. It could just be
Right.
a simple thing. But she's gonna make it complicated because the way she thinks is complicated,
Yeah.
and you can't just so you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. But yeah, I don't know what advice would you give men in a situation where he wants to be honest, but he can't because he
Mm.
knows that his woman is a hostile. She's a reactor and she's very hostile. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like, what do
tough.
you tell that
Yeah,
brother?
I do. Um,
I'm gonna have to tell him
my
he gonna have to tell the truth, man.
well, my advice would be tell the truth because, like you said, you damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you lie and eventually your lie is found out, she's going to be upset. You get the truth out, she may be upset initially, but at least it moves the conversation to the place that it should be later on. Like that 2 months later, or whenever that time is when that topic comes back up, you're speaking from a place of the truth,
Right.
starting that conversation
Right.
versus, you know,
Right.
being
Right.
those conversations built on a lie. And now you got to backtrack, possibly say, listen, what I told you a month ago, I really didn't tell you the whole truth. You might not even lied about it. You might have just, again, you just might have left some stuff out,
Right. Because what's gonna happen? You're gonna have to
or
keep lying
whatever it
if you
is.
don't tell it. You're gonna have to keep
Right.
lying 2 months later. You're gonna have to
That's right.
keep the
That's
lie
right. That's a
going,
lot of work.
which is going to be more lies, and then next
That's
thing you
right.
know, you have created a whole life of that one
Yeah.
lie that you told is
A
now
whole
turned
life of
into
lies.
right. You turned this into a million lies just off of that one lie because
Right.
she's thinking you're telling the truth when if you tell the truth initially, if you have that integrity and provide that thing she doesn't want to hear,
Hmm.
I would say that you open the opportunity for growth down the road, whether it's 2 months later,
100%.
whether it's 2 years later. Y'all could possibly come back to the table because she knows that you told the truth.
Yeah,
um
you're right.
and you can start from that ground of the truth
Hmm.
versus starting over again after the argument or after the breakup, starting back over again, and you still haven't really told her the whole story. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah. So, fellas, if you watch this and you listen to the whole thing, tell the truth. It ain't easy.
Tell the truth, man.
It's not easy. Oh, first, tell the truth. Two, don't do anything that you need to lie about. I'm gonna start there. If you know you're doing something, you're making a conscious decision to do something you know you're going to need to tell a lie about, it's best to just not do it. That's the first thing. Second
Eh,
thing is if you find yourself in a situation you gotta tell a lie and you feel like you have to lie, don't lie. Just tell the truth.
just tell the truth.
Just tell the
Yep,
truth.
I agree.
And
Because if you're
and
doing something that you think you have to lie about, you definitely should be analyzing the situation you in because that doing something may be what you do, meaning that may
mhm,
be your thing. And if you know that's your thing, you know that's your particular uh your lifestyle,
right.
then you should have once again back to what me and Dub talked about before, you should be having that conversation within yourself saying, "Hey, I need to do something. I need to make a change in my life. This is really not about her. This is really about me. So let me
Right.
make this change in my life and let her know what this is because again, if you don't do that, you're going to be in a world of hurt, in a world of pain. So take the L early and soon as possible. That's what I say. Because you're going to take an L. But go ahead, Dub. You was on number two. I think you was on number two. My bad.
Nah, you good. I was gonna say something to the ladies, but
Oh,
we're gonna say that for another
I'm
we're gonna
trying to
say
be
that for
easy on.
another episode.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
be easy on them tonight, man. I'm not trying to.
all I'm gonna say to the ladies is respect your man if he tells you the truth. If you have a man that gives you the truth and he doesn't mind hurting your feelings with honesty, respect that man and love that man. Because like Trey said, they are very rare. We are very rare.
We are very rare
Yeah.
because what happened is women have to step back and look at the big picture. Stop talking about what you don't like that happened. Talk about think about why he's having that conversation with you, and that equals respect, and that equals a level of you're not beneath me. I don't think you're a piece of meat. I respect you as a partner. I respect you as a lover. I respect you as my friend. And this is why I'm having this tough conversation with you. Take your mind out of oh, you was with that and you did this and you did that. You got to step back and look at what's more important to you. If that's more important to you, then that's fine. But I think I'm gonna speak very lightly. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
emotional side of the reaction of somebody telling you something that you don't want to hear. I think
Right.
big picture wise, you want to be in a relationship with somebody who has that level of respect for you, that's going to give you that tough conversation about a mistake that he or she may have made, because we do know women lie as well, but we addressing the men.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. So look, man, y'all got something y'all want to say about this topic? Shoot us an email right there below the screen,
What's up?
something to say at dubbandtrade.com. And we're gonna check y'all later with another topic. Have a good one.
Out.